Hello and welcome to the Dave C Show. Today I have somebody called Rudolf, from Tasmania in Australia, and Rudolf reached out to me recently. We had a bit of a chat over some flat Earth stuff that we talked about, and I thought it'd be a good idea to get him on the show and have a bit of a chat about what's going on in Tasmania, what's going on, what he sees going on around the world, and possibly some solutions to navigating some of this this difficult period that we're all facing in our different countries. So, welcome, Rudolf. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. So, we were just talking briefly just before off camera, and you mentioned that you're in Tasmania, and I know that as far as lockdowns and things go, Tasmania's had a pretty, I don't want to say easy, it's not the right word, but a relatively quiet kind of, yeah, yeah, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, like I said, last Easter, like a year ago, we had a lockdown for maybe 10 days, and it was sort of more concentrated in the Burnie northwest coast area.
Yeah.
Which I found interesting because Burnie is the biggest port in the state.
Okay.
And also it's where the biggest sort of drug ice problem had been concentrated. So I'm thinking, in light of this whole military operations that we know are going on, and the ports and trafficking and stuff, so it makes sense that that would be locked down the worst. But sort of around, like I called it bullshit from the start. Excuse French, but
that's okay. You can swear. So you can swear. Don't swear too much. I don't think YouTube likes it.
I'll try not to.
You can swear a little bit.
BS. Okay, we'll call it BS. But like right at the beginning, what it was to me as if overnight the whole population had had a system upgrade. Like, you get on your phone, you get an update, and they were just totally programmed for this. Like even
for the narrative.
Partner at the time, all of a sudden, like one night we were in bed together, and the next day they want to social distance, and I go, "Are you did or what?" And like, what's different since yesterday? And
that's interesting.
It was just weird. And then all of a sudden, you got plexiglass screens everywhere, just from one day to the next. And I go, where did these tons and tons of custom fitted plexiglass screens suddenly come from?
Yeah, right.
And all the standardized stickers everywhere, and how people just complied with what had been mandated. It was really weird to me how that was even possible. Like no one seemed to be questioning what was going on. And so, and I had fallings out with people quite early on over this as well. And so I'm in lockdown by myself with me and the dog, and so it was pretty tough. And also just because I'm a designer and I make custom made clothing, and overnight, like no more customers.
Yeah.
And
did you go online, or did you take your business online?
Well, it's not really possible because I do one-off things for individual clients.
Sure. So you have to measure them and stuff.
Yeah. So, I did have a few jobs, but even those got put on hold indefinitely until whenever. It was supposed to be 14 days to flatten the curve, and now we're a year and a half into it, and it's still going on. So, the JobKeeper, I was eligible for that. So I basically took the money and spent the time just 24/7 researching. Like I'd go to bed with videos of just filling my head with information, and I'm bilingual as well. So I'm fluent in German. And so I was able to also see what was going on in Germany and how actually the whole, because basically Corona is Spanish for the crown.
Yeah, I heard that.
Actually, I have to show you this. I think it was, I can't quite remember when it was, but I've got this storeroom on the hallway out here, and it's you open the door, you got to reach behind the door to find the light switch, and it's pitch dark in there.
Yeah.
And one night I saw the light on. I thought, that's weird. So I went in and went around the back looking, no one there. So I turned the light off and shut the door. And the next day, the light was on again.
Yeah.
It's really
so
weird.
the door was shut and you could see the light coming from underneath
It was under the crack under the door. There was a light on. I went, that's really strange. Anyway, I went back in and I found this coin on the floor. It's gold plated. It's a replica 1 penny Australian from 1936.
Okay.
Where's the camera?
Yeah, I can kind of see it. Yes. Yeah, I see it now.
So, and I thought, that's got to be a sign of some sort. Like, because A, nobody would go into that storeroom, and B, if it was a tradesman or someone, it's not likely that they would lose a shiny golden coin on the floor. It had to be placed there by someone or something somehow. I still can't explain why.
Yeah.
My theory is
materialized.
Well, my theory is, this might sound crazy, but my dad passed away about 7-8 years ago. Okay. I think he placed it there.
Right. Okay.
His spirit or his ghost or whatever. I don't know. No one's come forward and said I put it there. So it's a mystery. But anyway, so I thought it was a sign of some sort, and I went into Google or Wikipedia, and I just went events in 1936. And I found that there were 3 kings that year.
Okay.
So there was George V, then he died. Then was Edward VIII. He
in
abdicated.
England, you mean?
Yeah, he abdicated, and then George VI, it's Elizabeth's father. Okay. All 3 of them in 1 year. So that was already odd. And then there was also a court case to do with product liability in Australia and a whole lot of other interesting things. But the thing about the crown was the thing that got me, and also because the name of this disease,
CV, yeah.
Corona means the crown, and it's actually got so many, like the halo around the sun is called the same thing, and the enlightenment chakra, like in the chakras, it's also called the corona.
The crown chakra.
So there's got so many different meanings and connotations, and so I started figuring these things out, and at that time I started really getting into. Up until that point, I hadn't really paid any attention to Mr. T. You know who
Did you know much about him in terms of like what the media was saying about him?
Oh, just that they were poking fun at him and that it was a bit of a goof in a way. But like I hadn't paid any attention. The only thing was I was glad that it was him rather than the HRC. Other option. Yeah. Because like that was just going to be a major disaster if she had got him. And then I started actually listening to entire press conferences of his. Okay. And listen to what he was saying and how he was saying things. So paying attention to, and then I heard about the 17th letter and what that was all about, and then figured out that he's part of that and he's kind of the front man for it, and how he's speaking in code and hand gestures and words. And anyway, so I just found it really fascinating. I'm not really autistic enough to figure out the
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Because they're too cryptic. Like it was like a cryptic crossword, and I struggled to do a normal crossword, let alone one that's a cryptic one. But I understand the people who decode that stuff, and basically it's giving us hints of where we need to go and look to find information about this, that, and the other. Yeah. And then the whole future proofs past, how you can go back to certain posts with events that happen now and go, well, it was predicted. And
with the timings, the post numbers, with the times and everything, it all lines up really well.
it even goes down to like file names of photos, and then the deltas of, 3-year delta, the same date, but 3 years apart. And it's really fascinating, and it's so complex. And then you realize that this is a military operation that's feeding information to the public to go and find these things out for themselves. And I think the most important thing that has come out of that is you can't tell people, you have to show them. And the show is what we're living through right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So as far as I'm concerned, it's all already happened.
Okay.
But it's not been released in the media publicly yet. So for instance, this Prince Philip, he died more than a year ago.
Yeah, for sure.
But they didn't put it in the news until whenever it was suitable.
Like a year later.
Time was right. The Queen's gone, but they haven't yet announced that she's passed.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with that. Yeah.
And so at that point, I also realized that our own governments are just like a dag on a sheep's ass that is just at the end of the line of what happens in America. So I stopped, like actually got rid of all the news channels off of my Facebook feed. I stopped watching the daily disease updates. I just like, it's just so full of crap. And it's just, I don't want that energy anymore. So I've just basically concentrated on what was happening in America. And it's we're living in historic times. And also I started to see the future of, once we're through this birthing pain stage, which is really, it's like the whole world is being rebirthed at the moment.
Yeah.
And there is pain and struggle to get through that. But what the new life afterwards be, the golden age, basically. And this is also why this coin is gold.
Okay.
So tying it back to that. And so as far as solutions go, so if this financial reset, the Nasara Jasara, and I shouldn't say if, I should say when, because
have you looked into Nasara Jasara at length in detail?
I know that Kennedy was about to implement it in the 60s, and they put a bullet in his head. And I know that it was supposed to, Bill Clinton signed the law, signed the papers, and it was supposed to be announced on the 11th of September. And then that thing in New York happened. Basically, that was deep state operation to prevent it coming through. And so now it's really like the reason why it's not happening apparently right now, or it's just not happening when people think or say it's going to, all these dates that have come and gone and never seem to work out. It's just that there's always, so basically what they're doing with these quantum computers, they're wargaming every possible scenario, and then they choose the best at that moment, the best option for that outcome. So basically with AI, the deep state have programmed the AI for a certain outcome, which is world domination and communism. But you can use the same technology and program it for a different outcome and make it work towards that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you just flip the purpose of what this AI is supposed to achieve, it's working, and it's wargaming and calculating constantly what's the best path right now to take to get to where we want to be with the least amount of damage and the, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's kind of where we're at. And when you look at world events now, like the ship in the canal, for instance, but it's all these signals that are coming out, and you know, when that was on the news one morning, I went, oh, yes, something's happening. Like people go, oh shit, I'm going to have to wait another month to get my exercise bike or whatever that might be on this ship. And the normies would just think, oh, you know, delays in getting stuff. But I just immediately saw what, because Evergreen, we know what that's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there was the truck that happened the next day in China, or the next 2 days after, or something. Yeah.
And also around that time, there was a derailment, a train derailment in Germany. Okay. And I actually looked up the running numbers of the engines that were derailed. And yeah, it was to do, I can't quite remember what they were, but it was like 45 and, you know, it was all code. Okay. And I thought, like, yeah, there's got to be. But then at the same time, you go, well, am I just reading too much into these things? Or
yeah, that's always a possibility. You know? Yeah.
Like I just happened to watch a Michael Jackson documentary yesterday, and there was a bit of footage about an Easter egg hunt, and he goes, oh, how many eggs are we looking for? How many eggs are there? And he went, 45.
Yeah.
And I went, was that a code like way back then? Or is it just coincidence?
You know, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, because I watched a video today about possible the alien invasion, right? And this guy put. Sorry.
They've been here all along.
Oh no, but the fake one, the Project Bluebeam one, yeah. And this guy put together a compilation of so many movies where they said the number 239, or it was like 239 appeared on a license plate or somewhere in the movie, and people were saying 239 or 2 years, 3 months and 9 days, or, you know, something like that. And this appeared so often. And so obviously this 239 is something, you know, it's in all these movies, it's in music videos and things. And this guy reckons that the gematria and all this stuff lined up and different things that he decoded, and he reckons that it could be possible that this fake thing is going to happen on September 9th. Sorry, September 23rd. September 23rd. Yeah. So 239. But yeah, it's interesting you say that, because yeah, is 45 that Mike Jackson said, is that something? It could be, you know, it could be coincidence.
45 is Mr. T.
Yeah, I know. But
that would have been way years before. I mean, he's been dead since 2009. There's no way he could have known back then that he would even be running for president.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be far-fetched, but it's just something that I picked up, and I may have read too much into it, but I actually don't think that he's dead.
No, I don't know if he is either. It could be possible that he's alive. You know, it's interesting because he had the 17th letter at his memorial site in his house. You know,
and same with the Kennedy.
And Princess
Di
as well.
The giant letter, and and also funny that we've got the Civic Square just down the road here, and there's a little Japanese garden there. It's really quite nice and relaxing. And I walked the dog there one afternoon with a friend and noticed a bronze plaque in the lawn.
Yeah.
And I went over and it said, this tree was planted by Her Royal Highness, Princess of Wales, the 31st of March, 1983. So exactly 38 years and 1 day before I saw this plaque. And I've been to that park so many times, I've never ever seen that thing there or read it. I've never noticed it before. And then I said to my friend, hey, look at this. Guess who planted this tree here? It was Princess Diana. And it's like, oh, okay. And then these two council office workers were just finishing work and walking by and said, oh, did you know who planted this tree? It was the Princess of Wales. And then the guy goes, oh yeah, I think there's one that with Charles planted as well. And sure enough, right next to it is Prince Charles planted a tree. And then I said, but isn't it funny that she's alive and he's dead? And he looked at me as if he just had an aneurysm and just kind of walked off. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
And it happened to be April 1st, so that must have confused him even more.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, I reckon that she went into witness protection.
Yeah.
That's my gut feeling, and she'll be back.
I hope so.
Called
I mean,
crazy. Hey.
I really hope. No, it's not crazy. Nothing's crazy these days. And because I when I was I had a lot of when I kind of first found out about the whole NWO and the agenda and stuff. I started looking at a lot of different things, and Princess Dies last night was one of those things. And obviously a lot of inconsistencies and anomalies with the whole night, the whole evening. So I was like, okay, there was obviously something going on there. I didn't at all know that there's a possibility that she could be alive until probably last year when I started, digging into a lot more stuff because of what's happened.
Yeah, but whenever I see a post about the Royals on Facebook, I've now made a habit of just putting a comment under it. They are lizards as in quotation marks, and then Princess Diana. So like she said that in an interview, and she would
right, yeah,
yeah.
okay, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? The whole lizard thing. It's very difficult to grasp, and it's something that I kind of been
But
struggling with for a
actually,
while.
I've experienced this. Not that I've seen a shapeshift, but just the venom that when you start challenging, kind of stepping on people's toes too much, and threatening them, or like they see you as a threat because you're about to expose what they're doing, and they literally turn almost like shape shifting. You can hear it, the demons in their voice.
Okay, yeah,
and it's happened to me recently on several occasions where people just turn.
Yeah, right.
And just kind of thing, and you kind of go, whoa.
Yeah.
And I think it's just it's an energetic thing and a vibrational thing, because when I started hearing about this 3D, 4D, 5D vibration thing, I had no idea before that about any of this. And I didn't know about, I heard about tarot reading and stuff, but I thought it was all just a bit hocus pocus. But
Sure, yeah.
Now I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I got my laptop next to the bed and I turn it on and I go, reload YouTube. I hope there's a Janine there. And it's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So I love her. She's so cool.
Yeah.
And you talked to her before, haven't you?
Yeah. I spoke to her only last week, actually. Yeah.
And even going back to older videos and then kind of seeing how close she was to the mark back then.
Yeah,
compared to now is kind of an interesting exercise too.
She predicted that when we had a mandate, early in February, she predicted that it would end a day early. So she's, nobody's right 100% of the time, but I thought that was pretty amazing that she said that, because it wasn't due to finish until Monday night or whatever. And she goes, "No, I get 4 days from now," and then it was a day early. And I was like, "Okay, wow, that's crazy." So
yeah, we never got to that point down here.
I think, you know what? Maybe I was thinking about that because every state's kind of like Victoria had their big thing last year, that went on for ages. Now Sydney's New South Wales has got something going on. I think, Northern Territory also maybe having something too. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if other states have theirs. And you had a small thing last year, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it happened again for you guys, and maybe happens to us more too, because you have to assume that these things are all over the place, right? These bases.
I just think that the stay home orders, it's because there are dangerous operations going on, and they want the public safe and out of the way, and also they don't want anyone to happen to witness stuff and blow the whole cover of the thing for a start. So they basically, they took the deep state plan and they've run a parallel mirrored. So there's kind of a smoke and mirrors operation. Like they've run with what their plan was, but because they're like 10 steps ahead of them, they've
no, I agree.
they hijacked their thing, and they're constantly just upsetting their plans. So it's move, counter move, move, counter move.
Yeah.
And that's goes back into this quantum wargaming AI thing that
I agree.
We've got 4 minutes until
Yeah.
the next call.
We will we'll have to resume this and do another call maybe next week or something. But is there anything else you would like to say maybe to the viewers, or anything you'd like to part with?
Yeah, well, the thing that you said it in the introduction about the shape of the Earth, I think we need to have some more time to delve into that and how I arrived.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not actually a flat earther.
Okay.
Like convinced. I just know that. Well,
you know that maybe you're neither one nor the other. You're not a globe.
I know for 100% sure that the whole narrative we're given of the spinning space ball is complete horse bollocks.
Yeah.
But what the actual shape of the realm that we're in is anyone's guess right now.
Yeah.
I think it'll be revealed, but the
in
more
time.
you learn about the more you learn about Palladians and Galactic Federation and all of that stuff, like, yeah, it's really fascinating, mind-boggling stuff. And one thing I will say, there is a guy from Belgium, and he's developed a theory of crater Earth, which is probably the closest idea to
right.
What is right. So basically it's saying that the realm that we're in is one crater that's reflected on the moon. And he's actually found all the constellations and all the other planets in other craters on the moon.
Okay.
And Antarctica is the entrance or the exit from the crater. And that's why it's so protected.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
Military and treaties. So
yeah,
I'll send you the link to that playlist, because
that'd be good.
I've put all those videos on a playlist, and it's fascinating stuff. And I mean, you've got to have a completely open mind to get into it and
I understand.
Start to comprehend it.
Yeah,
but it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'll definitely love to see that. So thank you for coming on, and we'll chat soon, and we'll tee up another chat.
No worries.
All right. Take care.
Cheers.